all. So look at this. I got it. People signed and we're all set. Now, there we are looking now at the side of the vermiform appendix. And what do we notice? That the longitudinal covering is what? Roughly the same. Okay? So there we see the longitudinal covering, and there we see a serosa. Alright? So there will be a serosa on the outermost part. Okay? So that's the serous lining. Of all the slides I've demonstrated today, this really is the best in terms of showing you a serosa. All the other ones were really very poor examples of a serosa. But what do we see the serosa? Formed by what type of cell? Simple squamous. So these are what? Flattened, simple squamous cells. Flattened, simple squamous cells forming the outermost lining. And this will be the position here of your orovax plexus. That's the orovax plexus. And then we're going now, let's go back now, that's orovax plexus here. Let's go back to a little forward. Okay. And there we see the submucosa, the muscularis mucosae, and then we see what? There are an absence of villi. So these are just intestinal glands chock full with goblet cells. Absence of villi. No villi at all, indicating that we are in the large intestine. Now, large intestine associated with so much lymphatics is indicative of the vermiform appendix. So there you see the vermiform appendix. And as we go along, and as we go along, and as we go along, all we encounter are just what? Lymph nodules. So described as a confluent ring of lymph nodules in the lamina propria, but the lamina propria has totally disrupted the muscularis mucosae, and this confluent ring is occurring both in the submucosa and the lamina propria. Alright? So confluent ring of lymphatics going right around. Okay? How would they set it in the exam? I think that they would set it like that. Okay? Something like this. Okay? Maybe like that. Okay? To indicate that it is all what? Just colon. This could never be ileocecal junction because there is no ileum there at all. There is no villi. Okay? So there we see the slide of the vermiform appendix. Now we move to the rectum. Now the rectum basically should differ. The rectum will differ in that there is going to be what? In the rectum now, the longitudinal fold should be like in the vermiform appendix. So rectum may look a bit like vermiform appendix, but there is no lymphatics. There is no confluent ring of lymphatics. Alright? So there is the slide of the rectum right here. Okay, beautiful. There is the slide of the rectum, and what do we notice? That the outer longitudinal layer is what? Uniform in thickness. Right? So there's a uniformity in the thickness of the outer longitudinal layer. Okay? Right here. For some strange reason, circular muscle is getting a bit thick in this region, and there is quite a bit of autonomic tissue right here. So the orovax plexus, I don't know exactly what happened, that is sort of thing when it has been, but there is quite a little thickening here of the circular layer. Could be that we are now going just down into the region of the anorectal junction, and this could be just the commencement of the sphincter ani internus. Sphincter ani internus, remember, formed by the inner thickening of the inner circular layer. So this may be just where the inner circular layer is starting to thicken. But what we see is that the longitudinal layer is all uniform. So it's a classic slide of the rectum. And there you see once again the goblet cells. All just goblet cells, goblet cells, goblet cells. Okay? So the intestinal glands there of the rectum just filled with goblet cells. here basically just lots of goblet cells. So this is the slide here of the rectum. No villi at all. Alright. So this is a very, very nice slide in fact of the rectum. No. The slide that I think is very interesting is that slide of the anorectal junction. But before we go to the anorectal junction, let me just look at this one other slide I have here of vermiform appendix. I think it may not be such a good slide, but let me just think. No. Rather, very, very poor slide. Okay. Now, we're getting in now into anorectal junction. Now, this is a big, powerful slide. This slide was around from I was a student. Alright, so it's a long time ago when I did anatomy. So there, and this slide still seems to be quite good. Alright, just looking at it, you remember this thing. Alright, just looking how to orientate this slide. So, this slide is over 30 years old. Okay. This slide is over 30 years old. Now, what are some of the features that will show us that this is anorectal junction? Now, just to tell you that the histologists and the gross anatomists differ with there, because in terms of histology, the junction between rectum and anal canal will occur at roughly at the pectinate line, because it is at the pectinate line that we get a squamo-columnar junction. So they're moving now from columnar cells, lots of goblet cells, to stratified squamous, non-keratinized epithelium. So right near me, right at that very point, right here, that is the what? The junction between columnar epithelium and stratified squamous epithelium. And this is described histologically as occurring at the pectinate line. So histologically, the histologist would say everything above is rectum, everything below is anal canal. However, for the surgeons and more gross anatomically, the anal canal is taken at about 3.8 centimeters in length and will include the anal columns. Okay? The anal columns. Histologically, you see that maybe the histology looks described as the rectal columns. There we see the muscularis mucosae, and we notice that the muscularis mucosae is now going to disappear. Disappearing. That muscularis mucosae is disappearing. You don't see it there in the anal canal. What we're seeing now is stratified squamous epithelium and a lot of glandular tissue. Alright? So this glandular tissue we see in close relation to, seems to be more in close relation to the pectinate line. So in fact, these may be those glands that are opening into the crypts. But no, these in fact, right here, forgive me, these glands here are the ones that are more opening towards the crypts. Okay? So these are maybe the so-called glands of Ball right here. Okay? That are opening into the crypts. These are the ones that get infected. Alright? So these ducts, these are the ones that get infected and lead to a lot of problems. So we see a lot of glandular tissue. These are the ducts, it would appear to be, of the gland. And there you can actually see the glandular tissue itself. Okay? There's that's a bit of a nerve right there. Now remember, let's now go back to the basics. Let's go back to the basics. So we're up here in the rectum. Remember, however, this is an animal, so not conforming really to what we fully expect. But the inner circular layer, that's the outer longitudinal layer, the inner circular layer should be thickening